What happened to us? How did survival become the only thing we teach? How did pain become inheritance? How did so many people learn how to hide before they ever learned how to heal? Oh, we tired. We tired. I know women that smile so nobody asks questions. No men so numb they mistake race for protection. No children in the next room hearing every fight, learning what love is from fear every night. And people say that's just how relationships go. No, that's trauma repeating itself through generations we never broke. Facts. We masked up pretending everything okay. Family pictures on the wall out of spirit decay. Church on Sunday, silence on Monday. Whole house emotionally drowning by Tuesday. Somebody mama lost herself trying to save everybody. Somebody daddy stopped crying and turned cold in his body. Somebody child grew up praying after his screaming. Now they older still battling depression and demons. Think about it, ain't nobody wanna say it out loud, but some people are exhausted from carrying everybody else. Strong friend, strong mother, strong provider, strong survivor, but secretly falling apart on the inside. Oh no, some wounds don't close easy. I know some nights feel endless, but God never meant for your spirit to live this heavy. We cry in silence, smile through violence, call it strength while our souls keep dying. No more hiding, no more pretending. This healing journey might save generations. Heal us, heal us, heal us, heal us. And maybe the bravest thing we ever do is finally tell the truth. Yeah. Men told don't cry, so they learn anger instead. Women taught loyalty even when emotionally dead. And somewhere along the line, everybody stopped feeling safe. Now communication sound like war, love sound like escape. Some people don't need another relationship. They need rest, need therapy, need forgiveness, need God, need space to breathe without surviving for 1 second. And social media made it worse. Everybody performing healing, posting quotes about peace while privately breaking ceilings. We got people screaming family first while destroying the family at home. People begging for intimacy while emotionally unavailable in their soul. Maybe some people were never toxic. Maybe they were just deeply wounded, with nobody safe enough to help them unpack it. Some of us were taught to endure things we should have escaped. Some of us confused suffering with loyalty. Some of us stayed because we didn't believe peace was possible for us. But healing is possible. We deserve homes that feel peaceful, love that feels equal, love that feels equal, rest for the weary soul. No more surviving alone. Rise, rise, rise. There's still light inside your chest. Even after everything, you'll survive. Hold on, don't give up, don't give up. And if nobody told you lately, you are still worthy of joy, of safety, of love, of peace. Maybe healing starts when we finally stop pretending we're okay. What happened to us? How did survival become the only thing we teach? How did pain become inheritance? How did so many people learn how to hide before they ever learned how to heal? Oh, we're tired. We tired. I know women that smile so nobody asks questions. No men so numb they mistake race for protection. No children in the next room hearing every fight, learning what love is from fear every night. And people say that's just how relationships go. No, that's trauma repeating itself through generations. We never broke. Facts. We masked up pretending everything okay. Family pictures on the wall, out of spirit decay. Church on Sunday, silence on Monday. Whole house emotionally drowning by Tuesday. Somebody mama lost herself trying to save everybody. Somebody daddy stopped crying and turned cold in his body. Somebody child grew up praying after his screaming. Now they older still battling depression and demons. Think about it. Ain't nobody wanna say it out loud, but some people are exhausted from carrying everybody else. Strong friend, strong mother, strong provider, strong survivor, but secretly falling apart on the inside. Oh no, some wounds don't close easy. I know some nights feel endless, but God never meant for your spirit to live this heavy. We cry in silence, smile through violence, call it strength while our souls keep dying. No more hiding, no more pretending. This healing journey might save generations. Heal us, heal us, heal us, heal us, heal us. It may be the bravest thing we ever do is finally tell the truth. Yeah. Men told don't cry, so they learn anger instead. Women taught loyalty even when emotionally dead. And somewhere along the line, everybody stopped feeling safe. Now communication sound like war, love sound like escape. Some people don't need another relationship. They need rest, need therapy, need forgiveness, need God, need space to breathe without surviving for 1 second. And social media made it worse. Everybody performing healing, posting quotes about peace while privately breaking ceilings. We got people screaming family first while destroying the family at home. People begging for intimacy while emotionally unavailable in their soul. And maybe some people were never toxic. Maybe they were just deeply wounded, with nobody safe enough to help them unpack it. Some of us were taught to endure things we should have escaped. Some of us confused suffering with loyalty. Some of us stayed because we didn't believe peace was possible for us. But healing is possible. We deserve homes that feel peaceful, love that feels equal, love that feels equal, rest for the weary soul. No more surviving alone. Rise, rise, rise. There's still light inside your chest. Even after everything, you'll survive. Hold on, don't give up, don't give up. And if nobody told you lately, you are still worthy of joy, of safety, of love, of peace. Maybe healing starts when we finally stop pretending we're okay.
Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Golden, and we are back, y'all. Yes, yes, yes. We are going to be doing, like I said, a four-part series. For the title is Black Men, Black Women, and DV. But it's a great conversation that I found that was being held between Alana Von Zant and Roland Martin. And we wanted to break that up into four parts and come in and, just talk about it as we listen through. So today we are back with part two of that. We did part one yesterday. So, y'all, I hope everybody is having a wonderful day in whatever respectful time zone you are in. It is about 10:45 a.m. here, Eastern Time, in the United States in the Carolinas. So it's morning, and we're gonna go ahead and get into this part two. And just like yesterday, I have Imani joining me as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and open her to the stage. And we're not gonna do too much talking. We're gonna get right into it, y'all. So what's up, Imani? How you doing? Thanks for joining me. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. It's 3:45 here. It's sunny and I'm glad we're doing this early because then I can do some other stuff. And if you've got some more work for me later, then I'll come back later with you.
Yeah, child. We just you never know what you're gonna get with us. We got all types of stuff we be working on. But yeah, I think this is a really great series, and a really great conversation. And again, I do want to make the disclaimer that you see that it does say, like black or African American, whatever. But these topics and what we're listening to when it comes to this series has no race, no color, none of that, right? So it can apply to all of us as human beings and people, whether we're female or male. So I just wanted to make that clear. The conversation is wrapped around like black people in the black community, but we know that a lot of these things don't just only happen to black people and within the black community. It happens to anybody, right? So everybody is welcome. Please don't feel as though, you know what I'm saying, like there's any type of exclusion when it comes to this series and this conversation. So let me go ahead and tell y'all what part two is going to be about. And we have at the end, y'all, Mama Warrior, she was to come in and do a prayer. So we'll have prayer at the end if that is good for y'all. But yeah, so part two of this conversation is entitled The Broken Mirror. And basically, what that's talking about is when we look at our community, we want to see strength and unity, but the cracks are the women we've ignored and the children we've told to be quiet. And so those are some of the talking points that Alanya will be bringing up. She's going to show us, though, that we can heal what we won't reveal. And that has been a big problem in a lot of communities. It's just like, what goes on in this house stays in this house type mindset and movement, and how that is not helping anything, right? So we'll be deconstructing what is listed as a safe space or safe spaces that aren't actually safe, and learning that true community protection begins with the refusal to look the other way. So that's just my quick synopsis of what we'll be getting into. I know, Imani, you have a few talking points as well. Would you like to go ahead and speak on those before we start the audio?
No, I think we can start the audio and then I'll pick up where we are. But it was a continuation of the discussion about emotional healing and DV and, looking within, really.
Right. And yes, so on part one, if anybody missed it, you can go back and watch it. It's up. But part one was the root of the trauma, right? And so they talked, and Alanya talked a lot about spiritual hygiene and personal history, right? We all can have different personal histories, but we have to, reflect and see how are we going to carry our spiritual hygiene. Do we have good spiritual hygiene or do we have bad spiritual hygiene? So the conversation was wrapped around those things, and that's getting deep down to the roots of what makes us act the way we are, the triggers that we have. You know what I mean? So things of that nature is what they talked about on part one. And it did heavily have some commentary around domestic violence. Alanya opened up, which she usually does, and talked a little bit about her background and her experience when it comes to that. So that one was a bit heavy. Today, we're going to be talking about the broken mirror, which is more so accountability, right? Like, and how we can change how things are set up within our community, within our households, within our families, and even our friendship groups, to where we can actually protect ourselves more so from going through these things, but also not just sweeping them under the rug and act like they've never happened and not dealing with them healthily and properly. So that's what part 2 is going to be about, y'all. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. And per usual, we will chit chat with y'all in the chat as we watch along together, and then we'll take frequent commentary breaks in between. So let's go ahead and start. We're starting from where we left off yesterday. So I will meet y'all in the chat.
Sometimes it's embarrassment, but when we don't regulate, all of those things will spill forth in the same way.
Right. And the thing, what jumps out at me, I just keep going back to, my goal is to avoid the murder-suicide. The goal is to avoid the murder. The goal is to avoid the beating. The goal is to avoid the verbal abuse. And if and the goal is to actually be happy, healthy, whole. And even if you don't work out, even if you don't get divorced, it doesn't turn into War of the Roses. It doesn't turn into I want to destroy you. All of that still goes back to, how do I handle loss, disappointment, hurt, pain, and lashing out at that person simply is not the answer.
But if you've got triggers inside of you attached to rejection and abandonment, your wife of 16 years leaving you is going to trigger you. Your husband of 23 years choosing somebody else, if you've got wounds inside of worthlessness or not enoughness or not good enough, and he's leaving you for Tamika, that's going to trigger up.
You scared of being, you were poor, you're scared of being poor again, so losing your money.
That's why I say it is important for everybody to do their spiritual hygiene, to do your work. What is the wound you're carrying? And what were you taught? What is the language that you use to clean that up? Yes, I believe in God, but God can only help you if you ask for help.
Right.
You know, God wants you to bring him or her or whatever you believe God is.
The example I use is when Jesus walked across water and Peter followed him. When Peter stopped believing, he started drowning.
Right.
I said, well, you actually read it, Jesus stuck his hand out.
That's right. Peter didn't take it.
No, he didn't stick his hand in.
Right. Right.
If he had stuck his hand in the water, he could have pulled Peter out.
Right.
No, he stuck his hand out.
That's
which
right.
meant Peter had to stick his hand out.
Right.
So we got to also do some work. You talked about the worksheet for men.
Man, I got one for women too.
What's the difference between the two? So let's talk about the worksheet for women that you want them, the questions you want them to ask themselves.
Based on what we talked about, based on what's going on, based on my little man at the river, based on this message of hopelessness that I've been getting from brothers. And, you know, we can talk about anger and fear and violence, but the hopelessness, when a brother's hopeless, when a person's hopeless, they have nothing to lose. I think that's what happened in Virginia. I think that's what happened with the man who shot his babies. I don't really know. I could be wrong. For men, the question is the wound that I carry versus the harm that I cause. I have to take responsibility for both. I have to take responsibility to heal the wound, and I must take responsibility for the wound, the harm that I cause. They're not the same, and they both deserve space to be examined, explored, and healed. But you have to take responsibility for both. For Black women, my encouragement is to love without losing yourself. And one of the reasons we are struggling so much. And I have to say, you know, to our credit, I would say when it comes to spiritual growth and healing and development, Black women are probably about 15 years ahead of Black men. Because we've been doing the workshops and the classes and the self-care beyond the nails.
Oh, I say it all the time. I say it all the time when women, and again, as somebody who's gone to men's conferences, church and non and secular women's conferences, I look at the agenda. That's a real agenda,
business, right?
I've gone to men's conferences and I'm like, this light,
right?
And I have said all the time, sisters are putting in a level of work that is not commensurate to brothers, and that this is even in Black male organizations.
Yeah. And why are we still getting beat, killed, left, raped, all of that stuff? Because we overgive. Again, we've been taught to love loyally, to love deeply, to love sacrificially. So we overgive. We over-explain, we over-excuse, and we overextend. And very often, and as a mother, I can see the places where I'm guilty of this. Instead of giving him the space to do it, whether he falls or messes up or drops out, rather than giving him the space to do it, I jump in and do it for him. I've done it. Or I excuse why he didn't do it. And so we have to stop that. So our thing is loving them or him without losing yourself. We have to learn how to stand with him, encourage him, offer our presence and hold space and keep our hands in our pocket and our mouth shut. Don't put him down. Don't judge him. I can't tell you the number of brothers who say to me, no matter what I do, it ain't right. It ain't enough. And it ain't appreciated all over the world. And that's, I'll speak for myself as a mother, as a partner, as a wife. You know, sometimes I'm either afraid he can't do it or he won't do it. But to delude myself like we do as we watch the news every day, I'll jump in and do it for him, or I'll excuse why he didn't do it. And sometimes I just don't respect him enough to give him the space to do it the way he needs to do it. You know, and I have to check that. Let me tell you how I got clear about men. Sitting around many, many years ago, maybe 40 years ago, sitting around the table, a bunch of us, I don't know, on a Saturday, I don't know what we were doing groceries or whatever. And I heard myself say, men are so stupid. No, I didn't say it. Somebody said it. And I in myself, I'm agreeing. Yeah. And then I said, wait a minute, hold up. Does that mean my father's stupid? Is my son stupid? Is my brother stupid? What about my grandson? Is he stupid? And I had to really check myself. What are you saying and why are you saying that? Not to just get into the fray of men are stupid because they do this or that. Men are different. They're different. Their purpose is different. Their value is different. That doesn't make them bad or wrong. We're different. And that, from that moment on, Roland, I really started to check at myself and explore myself and look at what I had inherited. One of the things that I had inherited from the women in my life were very low expectations of men. I had low expectations of them, but I wanted to be with them. So I excused and accommodated the things that they didn't have and believed that I couldn't get it. As opposed to seeing him, having great expectation and calling him higher. I didn't know how to do that. I had to learn how to do that. So we have to learn how to love you without losing ourselves and without holding you to a standard of less than. Just enough. No. Come on, brother. You got to get up. You got to do better.
Also, I think it's also a question of
if you ever want.
All right. So since the ad came up, we might as well go ahead and take a quick commentary break. And so that was a lot in just, a few short minutes or whatnot. But everything that Iyanla is saying is so true. And I've had this conversation before with my mom and my friends and stuff like that, other female friends and stuff. And it is true. Like, when it comes to men, and we know, there's been this whole thing, red pill, blue, 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 all of that type of stuff, right? Where the men is sticking with the men and the women is sticking with the women. And it's like a battle royale of men against women, and really trying to, dig down into what is this divide about? Like, why is it that, there's this uptick of, like, women now that just want to be independent. They don't need a man. They don't respect a man. And the men saying that the women are disrespectful, they don't appreciate anything, and they just like take it or leave it, basically. We've been hearing these type of conversations in a lot of different spaces, right? In places, a lot of different podcasts and stuff you might see on YouTube. Even in your own neighborhoods and communities, you could talk to a woman, talk to a man, they'll probably say those things. That is a huge problem, and I do think it is, bringing a lot of disconnect when it comes to what I think previously, our ancestors used to have, even though they did go through some hard times back then, but there was still this connectivity between women and men. And we are seeing that stretch further and further apart. Um, and I think that it is very important for us to listen to what the men are saying, and take into accountability how they think and they feel. If they're feeling like no matter how hard they try, no matter what they do, it's never good enough. It's always going to be an argument. It's always going to be a fight. She's never satisfied. I think that is something that realistically we should take into account when it comes to, how men feel. And we hear so many men saying that, right? So what do you think about this, Imani?
Um, I think the interesting thing that they are trying to promote, they are trying to actually promote more level of both partners taking responsibility and accountability for their behaviors within a relationship. So basically, they're saying that within a relationship, both the man and the woman must take accountability for the wounds that they carry. So
Hmm.
trauma, they're not excusing abuse. They can be they're explaining behavior by trauma, but they're also saying that we both within a relationship, both the man and the woman, have behaviors that cause the lack of communication and may cause disruption within your relationship. So they're saying that, like for a woman, I love the line where she said that to women should love men without losing themselves,
Yes.
and men should confront the emotions they were taught to suppress. So
Mm,
they're talking about women remaining loyal to, there's a lot of women who may remain loyal to people, abusive partners, due to fear, trauma, financial dependence, low self-worth, and childhood conditioning. It's what they saw when they were brought up. So they're following a pattern that they've already seen. But they're
right.
also saying to the men, you must acknowledge the things that are creating this fight in your relationship. So they're actually trying to bridge the gender wars rather than saying, yes, we're all different, we're all independent. They're saying, no, we both need one another, but we also both carry things into this relationship that cause things to go wrong. And I think that's what the interesting thing I find about this discussion. It's not talking about our differences, it's talking about the fact that women may want to be, and I think that many women may recognize this, that they go into a relationship trying to rescue people, not letting them do stuff, not letting them, struggle maybe a bit, but trying to help and nurture and not do everything, and then become resentful. And men going into a relationship feeling inadequate, feeling that nothing I do is ever right, and not communicating that fact. So, it's kind of the balance of saying, we've both got issues in our relationship. It's not just the man's fault, it's not just the woman's fault, but that doesn't excuse abuse, because
Right,
the abuse can exhibit itself when people become frustrated. That's what
right.
I was taking from what they were saying.
I absolutely agree. And one of the things that I've said before is that, it takes two to tango and it takes two to tumble. And a lot of times in relationships, that's really how it is. It's like there's some that can be, graphically and unfortunately, maybe more so one sided. But a lot of times, if it's just, a lack of understanding on both sides, right? There can be things that the woman is doing that's triggering the man. There could be things that the man is doing that's triggering the woman. And then they both don't see the error of the ways. And so they continue on how they move and they operate. And they both are, rubbing each other the wrong way. And then it can turn to chaos, and if it goes further or gets more extreme, then it can be actually, really, really, really brutal. But like a lot of marriages, relationships, and stuff like that, I don't know if there's anyone that can say that they've never gotten into an argument. Now, I'm not saying a fight. I'm saying like an argument, a disagreement, or something like that. Um, and that's because, whatever, like both parties are not seeing what is being discussed the same way. The woman is looking at it through one lens, the man is looking at it through another lens. The woman is standing her ground, the man is standing his ground. And so we know that's relationship stuff, right? And then when it goes way overboard, then it can get really, really bad. Because, it leads into maybe now it's getting physical. So that's never okay. But I really agree with what you say. I think Mama is joining us now here. She does have a few things to add. Let me go ahead and pop you up real quick, Ma. Make sure you have the TV muted
But
because we'll be able to hear
there
it in
was
the back.
just Yeah, there was just one thing I wanted to say. The one thing that Inyala does say, that we must not overgive, over excuse, and remain loyal to unhealthy relationships because of our learned behaviors and because of our, generational conditioning that we've learned through life. This is not saying that stay in an unhealthy relationship. It's understanding that you're bringing stuff into the relationship that is also unhealthy and that is also unhealed. So it's both partners may have unhealed trauma that they bring into this relationship that is unresolved. But go ahead, Mama.
I agree. I agree. And I'm gonna let Mama go, and then I had just one thing that I wanted to say, and then we'll get back into the video. So, all right, Ma, I got you. Hold on. Okay, I got you up. You can unmute yourself when you're ready. Just make sure the TV is off so we don't hear the echo. She's on her phone, so she's getting it together. All right. So while we wait for her to come, all I was going to say is I had a really good conversation the other day with Carlos, and one of the things that we was talking about, and I told him I was like, yeah, as far as like a little girl, right? When you are like even just a little toddler girl, like the main things that's presented to you is these Disney movies, these happily ever afters, a prince is gonna come rescue you, and then you play with baby dolls. So it's like you're already groomed to be like married and have children. Like that's the goal, or that's what they're telling you like is your lot in life, right? So I think a lot of times, unfortunately, we still grow up as those little girls thinking that that is what's going to happen. Like you're going to meet this knight in shining armor. He's going to rescue you and save you from whatever it is. And then you live happily ever after, and then you have kids. I don't know. Anyway, what do you want to say, Ma? Go ahead and give us some wisdom here. Unmute your mic.
Happily ever after. And then,
You gotta mute the TV.
okay, hold on.
Oh Lord. But yeah, there's a lot of different dynamics and stuff, that it's just like, what are you raised or taught to take and to endure? Then even if
Okay, guys, I'm here.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone. To Amani and Golden, my babies, and hello to the chat. Bless everyone. I'll try to make this quick. Um, I just wanted to agree with what Iyanla just said about a woman not losing herself into a marriage or a relationship. I have experienced that in the 21-year marriage I had, which I am now divorced. But I did do that exactly. I lost myself and I made my spouse the center of my life, and I put what what was going on with me in the background. And there came a time when I had to say, yes, I love him, but does he love me? And you have to understand this was a DV marriage as well, with the additive of alcohol in it with him. And I just, found that very, even today, after I'm all over everything, I just found that a great point that she pointed out for most of us women to understand that not to lose ourselves when we are in a relationship. And we have to measure what love is, because a lot of times when I was going through, I would ask the Lord to fix the marriage, to fix everything in the marriage, to stop the abuse. And I found myself answering for God. I thought I was hearing God, but I found myself answering for God, saying, oh, well, I love him so this must be right. I love him so I must stay. Or I honor God so much that I have to stay in this marriage. And I was answering myself for for God when not really hearing what God was telling me, when he was actually telling me within them 21 years to get out. So spiritually, I just want to share that with men and women. When you are praying, make sure that you're not answering yourself for God. Make sure that you are hearing God, because a lot of times God is telling us to get out of things and we talk ourselves back in it thinking that God wants us to continue. The other thing that I wanted to point out with Iyanla was finding out what those triggers are in each other. Because when the end comes, she is correct. If those triggers are still there, when that end comes, you're going to snap that cord. And that's when this violence and unaliving really comes into place, because that person, either male or female, has not dealt with the triggers and scars and wounds and spots and things that they have inside. They've not dealt with that. So when something comes like a rejection, like someone leaving, they snap. And this is the result of what we get. But I just want to praise God and thank God for you and Golden, for and Iyanla and Roland Martin, for bringing up the subject matter, because this DV has been rooting its ugly head through life and through the world for a very long time. And it is really something that we have to give our attention to. And yet another point about that, not getting involved, that's not our business. You're driving by, you see a man uh, 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 assaulting a woman terribly physically, and you ride right by and you say, "Nah, let's not get into that because that's not our business." That has got to stop, because you may not have to put yourself in physical harm, but you can drive a quarter of a block and call your officers or whatever to that scene and sit there and wait and make sure that they get there to help that couple. But I've seen it and I've heard it a lot. People just walk past that. We become numb. We become insensitive to the violence that we see. And like I said, we all have to become a village again. The men are going to have to grab the men up and say, yo, man, this ain't the way to go. And the women are going to have to grab the women up. Look, what is going on here? This is not the way this is supposed to be. Just an example. But that's just some of the things I reflected upon. I'm not going to hold you long because I know y'all got to get on with this live. But I just wanted to add that. And I want to tell you that God loves us all, men and women, and that I'm praying to God for each and every one right now that is going through this, in this, or perhaps have become unalive because of this, that cycle does not continue. And that's all I got to say, ladies. And I'm going to get on off and get back in the chat because this is a great, wonderful live. And I'm going to continue enjoying it. Okay?
Thank you, Ma. I really
All
Thank
right.
appreciate
you.
it.
All
Thank
right.
you,
Love
Mama.
you all. Love you all. Okay.
Love you too.
Mhm.
All right, so let's go ahead, y'all. We're gonna go ahead and play some more of the video. We'll do a second commentary after that. We'll do a song break and then get back into some more. So let's keep going. We'll meet y'all in the chat.
When somebody reveals something,
Yeah.
believe it.
Yes.
Don't
make
look, a red flag is a red flag.
Yeah.
Okay. If you get to a red light, you're supposed to stop.
Right.
You ain't supposed to cruise. It's not green. You're supposed to stop.
But we inherited that too, staying long beyond is necessary or productive. We inherited that too. But standards were different back then. Grandma would stay, auntie would stay. Standards were different back then. And they still had expectations of their men. They still had expectations. And he may have had a woman cross town, but he was bringing her the check. You understand? And so again, for usins, hear me, Roland, for usins. And I love the way you love us. I've known you how many years, and I know you as a journalist. I know you as a editorial speaker, and I know you love us. I love the way you love us. I don't agree with you all the time. I mean, how many times I tell you, Roland, behave yourself? But I love you have the space, and I want to give you the space without making you wrong, without beating you. Nobody, don't come to me and talk to me about Roland Martin. You can't talk to me about Roland Martin, Tavis Smiley. You couldn't talk to me about Bernard Shaw, Ed Bradley. You understand? No. Cornel West, because I know how you love us. Now, if we got an issue, I'm coming to you. I'm not getting online. Roland, that's not who we are. That's not my grandmother. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. Where did we get this thing of getting online and tearing each other down? What is that? So another spiritual component of this is our very own ancestors in our DNA are rebelling against us because we are out of order. We are misbehaving. We got bad spiritual hygiene. Bad. And so our own inner dysfunction is becoming more and more pronounced because we're being called to heal. Called to heal. And some of it means go back to basics. Shut up. Stay your behind off. When I saw some of the things that people were saying online, that's when I had to go do my research. So here's the first question for women, all you women out there watching. What am I thinking about my current relationship with the men in my life? See, men need to feel, women need to get their thoughts and their feelings in alignment. What am I thinking about the current relationships with the men in my life, whether that's son, father, husband, lover, brother? Because if you do it anywhere, you do it everywhere. If you think your father's an asshole, you think the same thing about your son, your brother, and your lover. We don't understand how the mind works, but that's how it works.
Wow. Thank you, Cliff.
So what else gonna do?
I brought up earlier, pain.
Yeah.
And a lot of sisters have talked about the pain, what they endure, what they go through. And I absolutely do believe that a lot of men, a lot of brothers, don't give that any thought whatsoever. Don't give it any thought. That was I'm gonna send y'all the link. I want y'all to pull it. Trevor Noah was on the podcast talking with this sister.
Yeah.
And the sister said, okay, so we're taught to carry mace. We're taught to not dress provocatively. We're taught. So she went through this whole line of things.
Yeah.
And she said, so we've been taught all these things to do. But she said, but when they going to deal with the folk who
do it to
it's causing us that we have to do all this stuff.
Right.
So what she was saying is, these are all these things. I got to be careful how God speaks to me, because we've seen the cases where, a woman rejects a guy giving the phone number and he slaps her, shoots her, kills her, or whatever. And men have to recognize that exists, and not just from the area of, if that happened to my sister, I'm gonna hurt somebody.
Right.
If it happened to my daughter, I'm gonna hurt somebody. Well, guess what? That other woman is somebody else's daughter.
Right.
It's somebody else's sister. So part of this is also, I do fundamentally believe, men having to sit down to understand what that sister also is going through. If both folk are going through pain and difficulty, I better understand. I just can't expect her to understand what mine is. I better have an understanding of what hers is too.
Well, when we go into relationship with somebody, we're not just going into who they are today. We're going into relationship with everything they've been through.
Right, there you go.
Everything they've been through, every experience, everything. And a man can't give you what he can't give himself. If he can't give him space to be his own self, space to be sad, to be vulnerable, to be whatever it is, how's he going to offer that to you? This is why it's important that we each do our individual work. I can say this, I was physically, sexually abused as a child. I was neglected. I wasn't raised. I just kind of grew up in the environment. I got my first job when I was 13, and my father used to come on my payday to pick me up from work and take my money and give me just enough money to get back to work. When I told my brother, I had an older brother, when I told my brother that my husband was beating me and I needed, know what he said? What you want me to do about it? When I told my father that, I said, please come talk to him. Come talk to him. You know what my father said? You made your bed hard, you lie in it.
Wow.
So I learned real clear, okay, girlie, you need to get this together. At some point.
And that's not the reaction that a woman wants from the men in their lives, a brother and a daddy.
No.
That is not the reaction.
And see, one of the reasons that men, particularly in repetitive domestic violence, one of the reasons they do that is because they know she doesn't have anybody that he got to answer to.
There you go.
If he knew he had to answer to her brother or her daddy or her uncle, he would think twice. And if he's not answering it to them, either they're not around or she's not telling him. But my father told me, he said, you made your bed hard, you need to lie in it. So that facility, and it sounds bizarre, but it was probably one of the best things that could have happened to me. Because.
All right, so I want to just pause it right there for a quick commentary break. Imani, I want to let you go first. What did you get from that? That was a very powerful statement that she made as far as women being in relationships with men that may have those type of intentions. That's something that I found as well, right? There's this isolation period that comes, right? And it often women overshare. So a lot of women will overshare, and they'll let certain men know, like, their daddy not in their life, they don't have any siblings or brothers or anything like that. They may not be close with their cousins. That for some men that move and operate like that is an easy way in, right? Because they know that, well, there's not going to be no man that I'm going to have to challenge if I, desire to, go up against this woman or do anything ill to her. Nobody's going to check me. Who's going to check me, boo? That's how some of them think, and they operate when they know that. And then also, when it comes to that as well, it's like, because I've heard a lot of stories where that is the case. It's not always the case. But what do you think about that?
I've got two schools of thought on this. The first thing that that Roland said was, you know, the red flags. There are red flags that some of us see and we choose to ignore. People show us who they are and we ignore them. We ignore those red flags when we're dating them. And then we think, oh, he was only angry because that waiter was rude to him, or he was only angry because that person cut him up on the road. But it's not really the anger we're looking at, it's the reaction we're not taking note of. And we ignore some of those red flags as women. And the other thing I would say, there's two schools of thought. When, I had brothers, but then there's a lot of us that don't tell anyone because we feel shame. There are some of us who will scream it from the rooftop and say, my brother's gonna, don't mess with me because my brother's gonna be there. And you're right, there are also people that take note that you don't have anybody who's going to come, who's going to be there for you, who's going to protect you. And there's situations where people become isolated because they don't want anybody to know what's really going on in their house. So there's a twofold argument where people have someone that would help them. People ignore red flags that are very obvious, right from the beginning, because people are showing you who they are and you're refusing to see it. There's also that shame that people may have because they came from a home where it happened and nobody else knew. And, everybody went to church on Sunday and pretended they were the apple pie family with the, picket fence, and nothing happened. Everything happened behind closed doors. So there's a mix and match of things that happen, that where people can become isolated because they don't want to share, people don't communicate it, or there's men that know that you are isolated and your brother, your daddy, even if your daddy's around, he's not coming to defend you. And there are people that just hide it because they feel shame, because they didn't think it would ever happen to them, because sometimes these things can happen without you expecting it. It may be that you've ignored the red flags, but it can happen in your mind unexpectedly. So I think, social media, and they did touch on this, yeah. Social media hasn't helped because it does encourage a lot of public humiliation, a lot of conflict. And what I think about social media, and I think I did touch on this yesterday, that, some people are so consumed with other people's personal lives, because the people that they're actually pointing the fingers at are thinking that their lives are really, really, peachy and everything's okay. But they start rewriting your story, or they rewrite other stories, and talk about pain that they've never lived, or speaking on pain they've never carried. And sometimes it's easier to obsess over someone else's struggles than confront your own wounds and your choices or your reality. The truth is, none of us can fully tell about another person's story or walk in their shoes. And there's a lack of compassion, there's a lack of boundaries, and there's a lack of self-reflection of all these people who are sitting there pointing fingers at others all the time and making assumptions online for gossip, clicks, and views, rather than looking at internally at their own lives, because a lot of them are running away from their own shit. It's not really about your shit, it's about their own shit. But I
Right.
really do think that people, there's a combination of factors that can happen. And a lot of people that I've met, I remember when I was dealing with a young man who had been in prison, and it was Christmas, and he didn't have anywhere to go for Christmas because he wasn't actually, in touch with his mother, even though she was alive. So he came to us for Christmas dinner, and he was watching my interaction with my son. And he said something that really struck my son, and it really struck me. And he said, one thing I can say to your son, he's never ever going to feel that he's not your priority and that he's not safe. And that shook me when he said it, because his mother had always, if she had a new boyfriend, she'd always rejected him if the boyfriend didn't like him. And that struck me really, really for a long time. And it struck my son for about 15 minutes. No, I'm only joking. But it shook me that he watched our interaction and said, you're never ever get. I can tell that you never ever make him feel that he's not your priority and he's not safe. And I was a bit taken aback. And that's another thing that people don't think about, is what's going on with their children as well in these environments.
Right, absolutely. That probably almost nearly broke your heart, right? To hear or experience someone saying that, looking at the dynamic between you and your son and saying, based off of what their dynamic with their mother is totally opposite, right? And
Yeah,
it does take you back. It definitely does take you back when you hear those things, because then that's when you first, start putting those things in your toolbox of knowledge when it comes to different dynamics between families and encounters and things of that nature, and maybe why people, are as angry as they are, as depressed as they are, are as envious as they are. It may be because of some of those reasons, because they see something that they love or that they desire to have within a relationship, whether it's, boyfriend, girlfriend, mother, son, mother, daughter. And it's something that maybe they haven't experienced or they hadn't had. And it's just to look at that. They love it. They love to see it. They wish they had it. And they maybe don't. And so that can be a trigger, for them and their, anger or envy or whatever. So that's really interesting that you said that, but it is also really sad as well that, that there are some dynamics where that is the reality. Like, the child may not be the priority, the man may be the priority, no matter how
yeah,
terrible he may be. He's the priority, and the child is just like, okay, well, I guess you're choosing this man over me, or he's more important than me, so, have at it. And there's a resentment that comes with that.
yeah. And also, people think it's. I wouldn't say that it's easy to leave those situations. People, there's a lot of people that say, "Why don't you leave?" They're not looking at the trauma that people carry from what Nyala was saying about childhood abuse, neglect, and growing up in that situation. It's like you're moving from your home to a home that's very similar, and as and experiences that and if you've got a lack of family support or community support or friendship, or you're not communicating that, it's really difficult. It's not as easy to walk in someone's shoes. It's far more complex than people think.
I agree. I agree. Because sometimes the child may not understand as well all of the things that the parent is going through. You know what I mean? And the difficulties that it could take them to get out of that predicament in that situation they're in. All they know is that it's terrible, they hate it, and they want it to end and they want to change now. But sometimes with living in those type of predicaments, it's not very rapid like that to just get out and leave, walk away. And sometimes the children hold a lot of resentment towards the parent due to that as well. I think sometimes too, maturity and being able to live life for yourself as you get older, you sometimes look back in retrospect and you understand, right? Because when you're young, you don't get it. It's like everything is like, do this, do that, it's quick, it's easy, fix it now. Once you get older, and God forbid if you even go through the same experience in your life, which is literally what we're talking about on this live, is that is what is sometimes happening in a lot of families. If there's a child that grows up seeing domestic violence as normal and all the time and just living through it, getting through it, and coming out on the other side, subconsciously they don't even realize that they get into sometimes relationships with people and like relationship dynamics that almost mirror what they saw when they were growing up, right? So a lot of times they're more susceptible to be in those type of predicaments because they grew up seeing it, and it was started to be normalized to them. And maybe there was no change, there was no get out, there was no, that movie Enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, that never happened. It's just you deal with it, and hopefully and prayerfully to God you get out, because some people don't. They don't get to walk away, and they may be no longer with us because of some of these things. So it's very deep. It's very tense. If you have a few more thoughts on this topic, you can go ahead and talk about them. But after that, I'm gonna go ahead and take a quick song break for us, so we can get a coffee or something like that, and then we'll come back
I think we have to avoid online. Online, there's a lot of victim blaming. There's a lot of victim blaming language, and we need to highlight that abuse affects your self-worth, and it also affects decision making. So we need to what we need to say really is there are a lot of support and networks out there, even if you don't have family support, and we will be putting that in the video descriptions. And there are people who will intervene, and like Mama said, even as a community, we have to try and step in. That doesn't mean step in the middle, but it means that call the police if we see something, say something. But we've got people need to know that abuse does affect your self-worth, it does affect your decision making, and there's a lot of victim blaming out there that's like, why didn't she leave? Oh, she should have left. You cannot know unless you're in that situation what it feels like to be in that situation, and the dangers that people may be thinking about of unalivement of their children. There are many people who have, as we've seen, unalived their children and their partner just because they know they're leaving. So it can be very dangerous for people in these situations. So we have to be aware of that before we start running our mouth and talking about what we don't know, because we're no experts in it, and we can't walk in another person's shoes. But that's all I got to say.
Okay, let's just take a quick song break, y'all. After the song break, we'll come back, and Mama Warrior has a few things she want to say as well on that topic before we go on to the rest of the live. So let me go ahead and play this song right quick. Let's grab a coffee, and we'll be right back.
What happened to us? How did survival become the only thing we teach? How did pain become inheritance? How did so many people learn how to hide before they ever learned how to heal? Oh, we're tired. We tired. I know women that smile so nobody asks questions. No men so numb they mistake race for protection. No children in the next room hearing every fight, learning what love is from fear every night. And people say that's just how relationships go. No, that's trauma repeating itself through generations. We never broke. Facts. We masked up pretending everything okay. Family pictures on the wall, out of spirit decay. Church on Sunday, silence on Monday. Whole house emotionally drowning by Tuesday. Somebody mama lost herself trying to save everybody. Somebody daddy stopped crying and turned cold in his body. Somebody child grew up praying not to hear screaming. Now they older still battling depression and demons. Think about it, ain't nobody wanna say it out loud. But some people are exhausted from carrying everybody else. Strong friend, strong mother, strong provider, strong survivor, but secretly falling apart on the inside. Oh, no. Some wounds don't close easy. I know. Some nights feel endless. But God never meant for your spirit to live this heavy. We cry in silence, smile through violence, call it strength while our souls keep dying. No more hiding, no more pretending. This healing journey might save generations. Heal us, heal us, heal us, heal us, heal us. It may be the bravest thing we ever do. Finally tell the truth. Yeah. Men told don't cry, so they learn anger instead. Women taught loyalty even when emotionally dead. And somewhere along the line, everybody stopped feeling safe. Now communication sound like war, love sound like escape. Some people don't need another relationship. They need rest, need therapy, need forgiveness, need God, need space to breathe without surviving for 1 second. And social media made it worse. Everybody performing healing, posting quotes about peace while privately breaking ceilings. We got people screaming family first while destroying the family at home. People begging for intimacy while emotionally unavailable in their soul. And maybe some people were never toxic. Maybe they were just deeply wounded, but nobody's safe enough to help them unpack it. Some of us were taught to endure things we should have escaped. Some of us confused suffering with loyalty. Some of us stayed because we didn't believe peace was possible for us. But healing is possible. We deserve homes that feel peaceful, love that feels equal, love that feels equal, rest for the weary soul. No more surviving alone. Rise, rise, rise. There's still light inside your chest. Even after everything, you'll survive. Hold on, don't give up, don't give up. And if nobody told you lately, you are still worthy of joy, of safety, of love, of peace. Maybe healing starts when we finally stop pretending we're okay.
All right, Ma. So I know you had one more thing that you wanted to discuss that we talked about before that I think is actually very important to bring up and have a conversation about. You want to go ahead and share what that is? No, your mic is muted. I can't hear you. You got to either turn it up or unmute it. Okay, unmute it and then turn it up. Turn your volume up. No. I mean, I can only hear you because you're in the house, but I can't hear you on the screen. Hold on, let me see. I don't think it's anything on my end. How about now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. All right, guys, I'm not going to hold you long, but I wanted to bring this point up too because I don't know if there are men and women that are also found themselves in this situation.
Sound went out. No, it went out. You might have to go out and come back in. No, not on the platform. No. Yeah. Okay. All right. She'll be back. Anyway, so
And we also need to remember, whilst we're waiting for Mama, that men go through abuse too.
they absolutely do. Absolutely do. In more ways than one. Probably all the same ways that women do. Actually, all the same ways that women do. So, yeah, that doesn't need to be taken off of the table because men have experienced these things as well.
Yeah, and a lot of it. We seem to only talk about physical abuse. There's emotional abuse. There's financial abuse. There
Mhm.
are all sorts of abuse that are interrelationship that have an impact on people's lives. And it really is about, a lot of it is about historical unhealed trauma that people carry with them into relationships. And unless you heal, and you leave that relationship, you can't go off and have a healthy relationship with someone else unless those traumas are healed.
And the unfortunate thing is for a lot of boys and men is that with some of those circumstances, and I can't say necessarily when it comes to physical, physical I think will change the trajectory of how men operate towards women in a certain way. Then we also have to talk about actual. That will, change sometimes dynamics of how men operate. And emotional that will also change the dynamic on how men move and operate. So, which each different umbrella of abuse that any individual falls under, based off of what it is, it will, I think, forever change the way we move, think, and operate if those are experiences. Do you have your mic on now, Ma? You want to go ahead and speak on the topic
Can
you
you
want
hear
to
me
talk about?
now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay. So I just wanted to go back to the spiritual area where a man or woman may be going to church, or maybe they're going to church together. And this is not all pastors, but there are some pastors who pray, who teach and preach that in marriages, when there is trouble, you're to hang in there. Regard now, they don't specify what kind of trouble you're having, but they will definitely tell you to hang in there because it's for better, for worse, and for richer and poorer, and all that, and what have you. So, if you're looking at a couple who or a person that is experiencing DB, they walk away sometimes thinking that that's exactly what the pastor is saying. But we must know that God would never intend for us to stay into a DV situation, be a man or a woman. Now, here's just an example. Within my marriage, my husband used to come, every once in a while, maybe once every 2 months, come to church with me, get dressed, come home, act wonderful for about 3 or 4 days, and then its ugly head would rear up again. So you have to also be careful of that because your partner will use church to keep you in that DV situation. So these are things that we want to, take account of and remember that when you experience that, just understand God never meant for a man and a woman or a woman to stay in a DV situation. God loves us too much to have someone to hurt us, to mentally abuse us. He would never tolerate that. So we want to keep that in mind too. And my prayer is, however you can, whenever you can, if you're in a DV situation, please, in the name of Jesus, the Father and the Son, get out. Get out as soon as you can. My pastor that I had, he actually advised that I get a divorce because I was in counseling with him. And I must say this, my pastor told me to get out long before I decided to get out. Because once again, I thought I was the angel. I thought I was God, and I stayed in there thinking that I was going to make it work with all this love I had. But my pastor eventually told me, if you want to be alive, Sister Hoskins, you got to get out. You got to get out. And I got out. And I want everybody else that may be in a DV situation to please get out immediately. And that's all I needed to say. That's all I wanted to share. And I'm going to go back into the chat now.
All right, Ma, thank you for sharing and being so open. So let's go ahead and play some more of the audio from Iyanla and Roland, and then we'll come back for another commentary in just a few minutes.
It forced me to ask the question, why are you here? How long are you going to do this? But the wound, remaining loyal to people who treat me badly. You see, all of this stuff is linked up together, and nobody could tell me, Roland. I had to get that from within myself. Whether you get it within yourself through therapy or get it within yourself through prayer, meditation, or pastoral counseling, but it's got to come up, and you got to see it in its ugliness, and you got to own it, and then choose what you're going to do about it.
So how do we? When I say we, I'm meaning friend, fraternity brother, sorority sister, church member, I don't care what it is. If the conversation is being had and that sister is revealing that I am dealing with verbal abuse, I'm dealing with physical abuse, how do we tell them to leave?
Well,
because a lot of people don't even same thing. Like, it's real people. I've seen all these posts on social media.
Yeah.
She gotta go.
Can't.
And it's easy to type that in a tweet.
Yeah.
Or on Threads.
Yeah.
It's a completely different conversation when it's in real life.
Yeah. And this is what I learned, and I'm sure many women who left have learned it. You will not learn until it hurts bad enough. It didn't hurt bad enough when he broke my jaw and I was 6 months pregnant. That didn't hurt bad enough. It didn't hurt bad enough when he hit me with the bed slat and broke my ribs. That didn't hurt bad enough. What hurt me bad enough was when literally the Holy Spirit woke me up at 2:00 in the morning and said, if you don't leave here, he's going to kill you. And I said, my kids cannot grow up without a mother. It was not one of the beatings, not one of the slappings, not one of any of that. You're not going to leave until it hurts bad enough. What you have to let her know, or him, because Roland, there are brothers that are being abused by women in their homes. You have to let them know, first of all, you are a safe place for them to come to.
Yeah, that was.
Sometimes they just need a place to come. The other thing you have to let them know, you can't just come here and complain. You can't just come here and whine. If you come here, when you come here, I want to be here for you, but we've got to make a choice to do something different. We got to have an exit plan. If you don't have an exit plan, I'll keep you safe for the night or the day, but I don't want to hear it anymore. Because as long as they can come and whine and complain, that can go on for 5-10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I experienced that, again, to your point, when my sister said enough is enough.
Yeah.
And we knew there were issues. I could not make her leave.
Yeah, no, she won't.
But the whole point was, when you ready to leave, because I couldn't stand his ass. The first day I met him, like literally when I met him, could not stand his ass.
Yeah.
But the whole deal was, when you're ready, just say when.
Yeah.
And then when that day came, extracted from her apartment, my brother and his wife, meet halfway between Dallas and Houston, her and her 2 kids, 5 and 2, come to my house, just backpacks on them. And that was 24 years ago.
It hurt bad enough. She was ready to go.
And the thing is, and I put the question that way because, again, I'm seeing the responses from people.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get folk to understand we are making comments in hindsight and not in real time.
Yeah.
And not understanding that there are dynamics, that there are financial dynamics. There are people who still, through the pain, through the agony, through all that, still love each other.
Yeah.
The connection with how the children are used in the tug of war as well.
All of that.
And so it's not as simple for us to say now, look, you got to go, because I'm not in that person's shoes. But I do believe that we, men and women, have to be paying enough attention.
Yeah.
Where we also are seeing the signs. We're seeing the change in her behavior. We're seeing the change in her pattern, how she's looking over her shoulders, and where she might be at the house and he's texting and calling 6, 8, 10 times, dating like a stalker. That's where we have to be equipped to be able to ask him things, which is why also going back to the worksheet, because I got to be able to convey something to you.
Yeah.
For you to let me know what's going on.
But
and the pain
staying is a mental health issue also. I didn't know that when I stayed. Like I said, my wound was remaining loyal to people who treat me badly. I needed help with that. And also not knowing how to ask for help. I didn't know how to ask for help. When I finally did ask for help, it was rejected. And then I was left with, I have to figure this out on my own. Unfortunately, I didn't trust myself enough to think I could until literally divine intervention. I left with nothing. My 3 babies, 3 bags, and I left with nothing. I had a mental health issue. I needed support. I needed a guidance. I grew up in it, so it was familiar.
We're talking about the person that commits the violent act has a mental health issue.
And the person that stays has one.
Yeah,
it's the wound. And, people will hear that, ain't nothing wrong. Listen, stop it. Yeah. For you, a divine, unique creation of the Most High God, to allow somebody to demoralize you, physically abuse you, that's not natural. For me, it was normal because I grew up in it, but it wasn't natural. I didn't know that I needed help. I needed help. Now, thank God, I had a tight circle of women and elders who I eventually went to and they helped me. But again, I had to clean it up in here. And here was one of the most powerful things. I didn't have to stop loving him, but I had to get the hell away from him.
Absolutely.
I had to separate those stuff. I thought loving him meant I had to stay. That's why the worksheet for women is loving him without losing you. I didn't have to stop loving him because as long as I was in my sickness of unworthiness and not enoughness and not good enoughness, as long as I was in that sickness of that mental health issue, I thought that because I loved him, I had to stay. And because he loved me, it was okay for him to treat me poorly. That's sick, Roland. And I needed help. And so when we talk about, the psychosis and the schizophrenia on this end and depression and stress and anxiety on that end, but there's a whole gamut in between, and you can fall anywhere in that spectrum. And remember, mental health could be emotional deregulation. It could be PTSD. You know how many children have PTSD from neglect? That they were neglected as children.
I was...
Come here. Are you listening? It saves you a lot of money. We're going to get you those...
It happened twice. I was cutting the grass, and I'm loud. I think I may have had headphones on. And my oldest niece, this is one of the 2 who came with my sister. I turn around, and she's literally in the yard screaming and yelling and just in tears. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? I was just cutting the grass. And so what happened was her dad would often leave her in the house by herself. And he's outside with friends, and she wakes up not knowing who the hell is here, if anybody is here. And and she just lost it. And I was
Yeah.
like, Uncle Roro's here.
Yeah.
You're safe.
Right.
Baby, I'm just cutting the grass.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay, so she was in the house and woke up, you weren't there.
No one was like, so she woke up in this
Okay.
empty house.
Yeah.
And I was just outside cutting the grass.
Yeah.
And again, I turned around. I don't know why. I'm like, why is she losing it to that point?
Yeah.
That was previous trauma.
Right.
And so part of that was, and I'm talking about, so part of them coming to my home also was us having to help put them back together.
Yeah. Reprogram.
And also model behavior, model all of that in order to put them on the right path moving forward.
Now, let me ask you a question. Just that abandonment or isolation, whatever that was for her, got triggered up. What do you realize that had you not been there, she would have had to regulate that herself,
Mm-hmm.
and she may have stuffed it or suppressed it or called it something else. And let's say a parent came home, not you, but somebody came home, and she tried to tell them. They didn't have time to hear it. They're busy. Go sit down. Go watch your TV. Go do. So by the time she's 16 now, and cutting somebody in the high school, and they think she's a bad kid, but they don't even understand that it's PTSD, that it's trauma from abuse as a child, neglect as a child. Do you know how many caused by poverty? Poverty, Roland. Food insecurity. And who do they talk to about that? And then they grow up, and you want to know why they robbing a bank or stealing things or taking paper clips from the job, and you lock them up, because we now live in a law and punishment society, not law and order. I love law and order, but we live in a law and punishment,
Mm-hmm.
or revenge and punishment society.
All right, so we just gonna pause it right there so we can take a quick commentary break. Wow, how deep of a conversation and information that we were just given right there. And those examples, right? Those examples are exactly what a lot of us, if we're able to be honest, have probably, if not one time or two, maybe possibly experienced. And maybe there's people out there that could be listening, maybe in the bush, whatever, maybe experiences of those people as well. When we talk about abandonment issues, right? That's a heavy one. That's a big one. And it does cause, a lot of PTSD and anger and resentment and fear. These are the things I'm talking about that we deal with as people, or we go through maybe when we're younger, that we have to deal with as we get older to be able to heal. What are some of your thoughts on this, Imani? Imani.
Sorry, I didn't unmute my mic. I just
It's
wanted
okay.
to highlight a couple of things, really. There's one thing that they did talk about, and we talked about before. People got to understand when they're coming out of these sort of relationships that a safe exit plan is critical, and it really is. And also the fact that your emotional history can make you tolerate harmful treatment. But one of the things that they were talking about also is the PTSD that children may have, the anxiety, and the behavioral struggles that they may have later in life. There's a lot of things that can be attached to that. It's not only DV, there's poverty, there's, starvation, there's, neglect. And that one of the parents, when they're going through these relationships with a lot of conflict, there is neglect of maybe the children's emotional stability, and that can be carried on into adulthood. They said that you must, as a person who might be on the outside, who may have someone who is going through this stuff, we should pay attention to the warning signs of, maybe that person that we know that they've got they're isolating themselves, or they got mood swings, or they may become more aggressive, or their behaviors change, both the man and the woman. And we need to be aware, and we need to be able to, they talk more about prevention before things escalate, or before we have a tragedy. We need, they're talking about community involvement, and community involvement, your community are the people who are around you. I mean, I've got, a great community. I've got a lot of friends. I mean, we, get together and talk about the shoes that a boyfriend may wear and say, oh no, you can't date him. His shoes are terrible. I mean, I'm talking about the fact that we involve ourselves in everything, But I mean,
Right,
but not everybody has that. And
right.
there's a thing that if you're on the outside looking in and you see, that even the thing that I would like to say that Mama was right about, sometimes the churches are not helpful in these situations, because the pastor will open up his Bible and tell you that, in sickness and health. And the one that I hate is to death us to part, because literally that does happen. And we
Right.
need, yeah, and some people are taking that teaching literally. So we need to be aware that if we're not getting help in, it's not, if we don't think that we're getting the right advice, that we seek help in other places. And sometimes it's easier to talk to strangers than it is to people that you know. But
Child, you
as a
got somebody
community,
else. Mhm.
we should provide support. There are organisations. I've put some stuff up there. But I think it's really, we need to also, check our mental health. And, we need to have, mental health checks. And we need to, when we see something, we need to be saying something, and we need to be trying to talk to people if we can. We don't always know, because we have busy lives, and a lot of us have a lot of stuff going on in our own lives. But we really want to encourage the prevention before the tragedy, and practical involvement, not getting yourself in the middle of something and putting yourself in danger in these situations. We really got to, and also giving people a safe space. That includes giving men a safe space to talk, and not having this, suck it up, and you got to be strong all the time. Men need to talk to their brothers, if they see something, not
Mm,
just say, oh, it's not my business, don't want to be involved, that's his problem, because that does happen a lot within, the bros. There's a bit more standoff. I'll only talk to him if he tells me. No, you should talk to him
right.
if you think there's something wrong.
Right, right. And then it's like, you at the cookout or something like that, and you there with your homeboy, and he come, you bring his girlfriend, and you see him, your homeboy snatching his girlfriend up and roughing her up and stuff like that. It's like, there's been a society where it's just like, well, that's their relationship. I ain't got nothing to do with that. And then you got some men, it's like, yo, bro, they'll go up and go toe to toe with that dude. Like, yo, why you putting your hands on her like that? You don't need to be, I think that that's more, if you, in my personal opinion, more of a healthy friendship approach when it comes to bros and stuff like that, and homeboys, brothers, whatever. Like, yeah, I think that's the appropriate thing to do. I don't think it's just like, turn a blind eye to it and act like it's not happening and ignore it. And then sometimes, not all of the time, some of the reason why some of the other brothers do stuff like that is because they do the exact same thing to their girls. So they don't see nothing wrong with it because they hold that same level of energy, and vice versa. Like if the girl cutting up, she doing too much, you know what I'm saying? Her homegirls need to be able to come and be like, yo, what are you doing? Like, come on. That's, this is not lady. Like, what are we doing here? Like, calm down. It's not that serious. Like, I think that if you really are friends and family, or, loving towards someone, then the checks and balances are warranted. I think that that's what we should aim for. I don't think that being a friend and loving and caring for somebody is watching them crash out and be a lower vibrational version of themselves. That's not love and care for somebody. If you love
That's
and care for
very
somebody
true.
and you see that they like, you know what I'm saying, being toxic or they crashing out or they, in a predicament that's like not good for anybody. If you really love and care for them, you're gonna tap them on the shoulder or you're gonna try to pull them back, like, yo, what are we doing here? Like, this is not it. You always need that person in your life to be like, yo, this is not it. And I can say truthfully that I am thankful and grateful that I have my mom, of course. My mom is always going to tell me when this is not it. But I've also met some excellent people, even just here virtually, on the YouTube platforms and stuff, that are people with integrity, people who have wisdom, right? And they see more for me than sometimes I can see for myself. And they've been the type of person to tap me on the shoulder and be like, this is not it. I think that that's helpful for us, whether we're female or male.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Um, and sometimes, we're not in the right friendship groups because sometimes people are encouraging us in our foolishness and not, checking us when they need to. That's both men and women.
Right.
So, sometimes you might find, that's why I say sometimes you might find that talking to someone who is outside your friendship group may be better for you. But, I think we really, we do have to start looking out for one another more. We definitely do. And, this is something that we've often heard another content creator say, who does spiritual lives, that we don't look out for our brothers and sisters. We don't want to take care of one another. We just want to fight and cuss and scream. And I've heard you say that as well. You know, people don't want to out for one another. People are just interested in tearing people down, and that is just not it. It really isn't it. We need to do better for one another because right about now, one of our brothers and sisters could be in real trouble, and we've just not bothered to check on them or to see if they're okay. Or we may have thought something's wrong, but we thought we'll get round to it. And sometimes the getting round to it is too late. So we need to look out for one another. We really do. And this impacts children a lot. As we say, it's they're our future. And if they are growing up in these environments, it doesn't bode well for what they are going to be doing later on in life, especially if they have unhealed trauma.
Yes, I agree. And, it's just like, you know, I had to go through that myself as of recently. I think a lot of people may have known or heard or seen or whatever. As of recently and constantly on a daily basis, when you're working on yourself and you want to be the best version of yourself, there's a lot of times, sometimes that you fall short. And it takes somebody sometimes just like, really being open and honest with you, that you trust, that you know what I'm saying, you confide in, to have that can make all of the difference. And you also have to have a self discipline to be able to shut up, listen, and really absorb what people are saying to you when they say it. Whether that may be someone you're on the outs with or whatever, you don't know them too well, it doesn't matter. The message, right? And I believe they said that in yesterday's episode that we played, that, don't overlook the message because you may have a disdain for the messenger. Because God or the universe, respectfully, whatever people believe in, can send you a message through any vessel. And so once you receive that message and you're open to receive it, then it wakes you up, like it shakes you. You like, okay, I need to check myself because I'm not in the proper place I need to be. I'm not exuding the characteristic traits that I want to exude. I'm out here looking like a totally different person, acting and speaking like a totally different person. Really just out here, doing the worst. And we have to be able to take that self check and accountability for what we do and how we treat one another, and not just try to put the blame on everybody else. We got to take accountability for our part and our hand in it as well. And when it comes to a lot of these, and we're talking about, yes, like DV and abusive relationship as well. Yeah, that's what Alanya was saying. She was saying, I had a sickness and he had a sickness. His sickness was, or whatever, his scars and wounds he carried led him to treat me terribly and put his hands on me. My sickness was me feeling as though I don't deserve better, and I just put up and tolerate with this type of abuse. Those are equally sicknesses, and that it takes two to tango. So it's just like you do have to take that accountability as well. Yes, there can be nasty work on either side, whether it's man and woman, or woman and man, vice versa, man on man, woman on woman. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Both parties must take the accountability for what is leading you to move and operate and either tolerate or exude what is happening within this detrimental situation. And I think once both people are able to do that, right, truthfully, and then also make the proper steps to get out, move forward, part ways, whatever it is, maybe it's possibility of change, right, and healing, and maybe those people can stay together after they both get well. But if you're not well and you're not making the proper decisions, and you're in this stuff here and putting up with this stuff for way too long because both parties, there's an issue on both sides, you got to fix that. One can do the work. If just one does the work and the other one doesn't do the work, then you're still not going to get nowhere. Both have to equally do the work.
Yeah. And a big thing is, it's about being present in people's lives, showing up for people, checking on them, noticing emotional warning signs, creating safe spaces where both people can discuss their pain, their trauma, their emotional struggles. That's both, who both parties in a relationship, because it's not only about, like you said, a man and woman relationship. It could be a man and man, it could be a woman and woman. We're not judging, we're not talking about, we don't know what people's personal situation is, but it's it's not only about the physical abuse, it's emotional, it's verbal, it's psychological, it's controlling behaviors, it's intimidation and fear that can be placed in people's lives. It really, there's a lot more to it than just physical violence. And also, it can shape further relationships if you don't deal with it, and it can shape further relationships for children, and it can cause instability, and it can affect their behavior at school, later on in life at work, and create unhealthy behaviors in life. But one thing I will say, and that one thing they do say, trauma does not excuse abuse. It can explain your behavior, but individuals have to take accountability for their actions. Both individuals have to take accountability for their actions within a relationship. And,
Right.
people say, and it can be complex why people say, there's fear, there's finances, there's shame, there's trauma bonding, there's low self-worth, there's all sorts of reasons. And leaving an abusive relationship can also be dangerous and really overwhelming. Uh, and we must stress, men also need emotional support, because men are taught to suppress their emotions, um, and it can it can result in a lot of anger, depression, isolation. We've got to be able to understand that men, this is not only about women, this is about men as well. And women also need healthy boundaries, like not loving too much or over giving or over tolerating, or, tolerating harmful behavior. They've got to look at their own traumas that they've brought into those relationships.
I
Um,
agree. But
yeah,
let's go ahead and play a little bit more of the video. So, because I'm gonna try to get through these minutes so we don't go over time, Shy. I don't want to hold
Yeah.
people too.
How much longer we got of the video?
I think we just about maybe 15 to 20 minutes more. I think, but
Okay.
it's not
Okay.
long. But let's get back
Okay.
into it, and I'll meet y'all in the chat.
Okay.
So many of us, the wound, we are walking around wounded.
And so we keep talking about this issue of domestic violence through the prism of men and women.
No, right.
But there is a component there to that child who had to witness it. That child who now, you talk about those 9 years, your son, okay, him being frightened of that particular person. So now
and in the house with him every day eating dinner.
There you go. And also the flip side of you are suffering through this physical calamity, but what happens when that child actually never sees it, but they see that person as their hero?
Right.
And so now all of a sudden, when you like, we got to get the hell out of here.
Right.
You now got to deal with the child going, what the hell are you doing?
Right.
That's daddy. I love daddy. You like, no, we got to go. You have to now address. So now child may be trying to blame you for leaving when it's kind of like, no. We had to leave because I may have ended up dead.
Right. But that's why communication is so important. And that's another dysfunction we have. We deny, we avoid, we don't call a thing, we hide things. It's good for children to see conflict resolution. One of the reasons that murder and the things happen is because we're not teaching our children conflict resolution. They either see the big fight and the argument that never then gets discussed, or they don't see anything at all. We're hissing in the closet or hiding in the basement. It's a good thing for them to see difficulty and have it resolved and have the conversation and to speak about it. Many of our children today, many of the young people, oh my God, the Gen Zs, emotionally illiterate. Because they grew up watching the back of somebody's head or with headphones on, eating dinner out of styrofoam box or working on these things. They are emotionally illiterate.
Totally isolated.
That's not a bad thing. I'm not calling them names because my generation failed them. You know, the generation under me failed them because we were so busy getting and doing and that we didn't have the conversation.
That's why whenever, because we raised 6 of my nieces, whenever they were in the car, I said, I would turn the music up so loud it would drown out their headphones, and I would explain to them, no, you're gonna listen to what I want, what I'm going to play, because I need to expose you to different types of music.
Yeah.
And then of course, what happened? Like, hey, Uncle Roro, could you put that what was that Bill Withers? Could you put that Bill Withers song on my iPod again when you're exposed? So that's the way I handle it.
You have to.
But and again, I know somebody may be saying, okay, you joking about that, but no. We were very intentional with how we responded.
I deposited $500,000 from my life
to my nieces, because we raised 6. 2 were from a sister who left because of domestic violence. But we were intentional, understanding what they went through. So this is what we're going to give you in order to try to repair as much as we can what you previously had dealt with.
Can I just offer you another consideration? This is how we're going to be with you so that you can repair that situation. Mm-hmm. This is how we're going to be around you.
Right.
Presence. And that is what is going to shift all of this. Black women, change your presence. Black men, change your presence, because then emotional regulation, emotional safety, clear communication, presence makes all of that important. Right now, we're so busy doing. We don't know how to be.
I had somebody, I told a story once, and it was very interesting how the response was. I said, when I go home, I don't care what I'm doing, and I don't care where they're going. If you walk into my house, my brother's house, my sister's house, you're going to come speak to me, and it's going to be a hug. because my grandparents were like this. Like
Yeah.
you ain't, and my grandma was like, no, you speak to me first. And I had some folk, well, you shouldn't be doing that because, and it's people, they've had folks in their family and sexual. I said, hey, that ain't here. So you ain't projecting all that. I said, for me, I want my nieces and nephews to know they can be hugged, they can be loved
non-sexually.
Right. In terms of when I think I am, it's like, no, hey, Uncle Roro, hug that you're not distant, because I need them to understand also, you're going through some stuff. You can pick the phone up. Right. You can reach out. You can talk. You can, and that's the thing.
That's presence, Roland.
Right. But it's also being intentional with that, knowing full well what the whole dynamic is, and also just in being mindful in terms of what you see. And now also when girlfriends or boyfriends come around, that eagle eye, you sitting there going like,
listen,
you hear, it's like, it's always, you hear how he said this, whatever. To me, all of that is a part of the communal aspect of, no, we're going to keep everybody safe.
It's good spiritual hygiene. But now here's the piece that I think frightens people about what you're saying and having clear communication. I had a brother friend, you know him, well known, and I love him. I still do. And I witnessed some inappropriate, incorrect behavior in the world. And I checked him on it. Mm-hmm. I wrote him a letter. And I didn't make him wrong. This is what I saw. This is what it felt like. This is what I want to offer you. And he got highly insulted, hurt, highly insulted. And I haven't spoken to my friend now, probably in 15 years. And I didn't stop loving him. And I gave him the space to be upset. What we have to know, what we have to recognize is that sometimes people are in their head without adult supervision, and in their ego with their self-righteousness. And if you try to check them, correct them, support their healing, they will turn on you. And I think one of the things that happens is, rather than challenge somebody, check somebody, offer somebody something different, we let them get away with bad behavior. We call it love. But what we're doing is we're watching them die. And over the years, in this 15 years, I've watched him blow up, fall apart, So we've got to be willing, hear me, in these situations to have people, to piss people off.
Oh yeah. Also, I think we have to also, again, to your point, when you're present, or I always say, you can be present, but you can have presence.
Right.
And that is, whether it's your brother, whether it's your sister, whatever, you're sitting here and you like, she need a break. Mm-hmm. He need a break.
Right.
Say, bro, let's go and no, man, no. Let's bounce. Let's just go here. Step away for 2-3 hours.
Yeah, even if it's to the park.
And because my whole point is, if you're mindful, you're watching them. You're paying attention. And this is the thing that I have been just saying for the last couple of weeks, where I need men to be paying a lot more attention
to each other.
Mood swings, shift. Why you so quiet? Why you so apprehensive? And understanding you may be the person who needs to say, no, come roll with me. We just go and it may end up like the guy at the park, by the river with you, because you don't because what you've done is, in that moment, whether you're a man or a woman, you become. I use the phrase, you become a first responder. You become an emotional release valve.
Yeah.
For that person who didn't even realize they needed it, but you just happened to say, I just sense, man, that stuff was just ticking you off. This is not normally how you are. Hey, what you dealing with? Talk to me. And now it could be something dealing with the spouse. It could be something dealing with the kids.
Job,
it could be anything.
ED.
But you need yes, and
because that's a big thing right now among men.
Well,
and
again,
not talking about it.
There you go. And so you have that person needs somebody.
But that person also has to take responsibility. And whether it's this worksheet or a journal or a class or something, meditation, rub a crystal on your left nipple, I don't care. We also have to accept responsibility for ourselves. Yes, and be more present.
Right.
And yes, show up for each other.
But if I don't know, as you said earlier, if I don't know that I even have a problem, if I don't even know what the wound is,
if somebody tells you, don't deny it.
But I need somebody who can help coax that out.
Yeah.
And that, to me, if we're talking about confronting domestic violence
and mental health issues,
yes, and that's identifying, and so it's empowering people, because I think it's very easy for, and obviously a lot of people say, man, suck it up.
Yeah.
You punked out.
Right.
Oh, that man killed that woman. He's evil. He's a coward. Using all those different phrases. Yeah. And my whole deal is, what do we do to keep the person from becoming that next person?
And what do we do with the children that he left behind?
Yes.
And what do we do with his mother? And what do we do,
his mother and father, her mother and father.
Okay.
It's all cascading, because the act of murder, suicide, the act of physical beating, again, it just flows down.
Yeah. It has a ripple effect. So here's a question for all the men watching. I got another one for you. What emotions do you avoid or struggle to express? What emotions?
Mm-hmm.
And an emotion is one word. It's not thought. Well, I don't like to feel. No, that's not an emotion. What is the one emotion? And for the women, I want to ask you this. How are you showing up in your relationships? Are you the rescuer? Are you the leader? Are you the victim? Are you the martyr? How are you showing up in your relationships? Look at each and every one of them, because all of those behaviors eventually will get you to the wound of what you're trying to do. Roland, we just have to take responsibility. And yes, we have to help each other. But if we think help is coming from the government, the system, when I think of the 47,000 people in this area who've lost jobs, who have homes, kids in college, they don't have anybody to talk to. When I think about the kids, the children who are watching their parents work 2 and 3 jobs and then they're not home. When I can't tell you how many women that I know who were sexually violated and never got to tell their mother or anybody about it because they were busy, they were working, they were afraid, all of these things, plus what we inherited, plus the way the society, it's a wonder that we can spell our name and tie our shoes. It's a lot going on. And I say us, all people have their issues, but my heart is with us.
Right.
My heart is with us because our experience is different, but our power is different too.
Right.
Our tools are different too. I mean, when I think of, like, you're an alpha, right?
Yep.
I think of, what are y'all
doing?
Monday
was my 37th year.
Really?
Yep.
I know y'all just had a boule. My God.
Well, there was no national, so we've had regional conventions.
Yes.
Because our conventions every 2 years.
Yeah.
General President called me, and there's some things that they're going to be announcing that they had signed a month or two ago. But this issue here, our Surgeon General of the fraternity, they had a mental health Zoom last week, and that's happening. That's one of the reasons why what I've called upon, I've said to all of these Black male groups, I said, will you take Alphas, Kappas, Omegas, Sigmas, Iotas? You take Sigma Pi Phi fraternity, the Boule. You take Prince Hall Mason. There's so many different groups. And what I've said, the challenge to them is, let's not be so fixated on our internal business.
Yeah.
That we are not addressing what's happening here with the brothers who are in these organizations. And now let's take it outside of the organization to the community. Yeah. This Thursday, we're going to be in Shreveport, Dr. Kevin Washington. he was in Shreveport the week before the shooting took place. And when the shooting took place on that Sunday, he hit me up because he was one of the doctors who was on the show that Thursday night after the Fairfax murder suicide.
Okay.
And he said, I'm putting something together. He said, go back to Shreveport. I said, we'll broadcast it. So we'll be in Shreveport on Thursday. If y'all got the graphic, go ahead and pull it up, please. And we're going to be there Thursday because the graphic of Shreveport, those brothers, because he's like, yo, we got to address it. Because Louisiana is number 2 in the country in domestic homicide.
That's right, domestic homicide.
And so you've got a community that is reeling from the actions of this man killing 8 kids, shooting 2 other women. And he ends up being shot and killed by police. And so he said, we need to do something. I said, all right, we'll be there. And that's the thing. And I've said to other brothers in other parts of the country, I said, you don't have to wait. I said, you don't have to seek anybody's permission. I said, if you're an organization, if you're just a group of brothers, I said, you don't have to wait.
Right. Let me share this with you. In 2001, In the Meantime was published. And since 2001 till now, I've sold 6.7 million copies of In the Meantime. Finding Yourself in the Love You Want. In 1998, I wrote The Spirit of a Man, a vision for Black men and the women who love them. 1998, I haven't even sold 10,000 copies of that book. And in 2005, I wrote Up From Here, a plan for the elevation of Black men. I haven't even sold 6,000 copies of that book. But In the Meantime, I sold 6.7 million. So the thing is, we can't just talk about it. We got to do the work. And you have to make time to do the work. In the meantime, I mean, The Spirit of a Man was the book that grew out of that conversation that I had that men are stupid. I haven't sold 7,000 copies of a book that focuses on the spiritual healing and growth of Black men, not 7,000. And Up From Here were personal stories and how these men got out of, haven't even sold 6,000 copies. So maybe now, and they don't have to be my book. Courtney B. Vance wrote a beautiful book called The Invisible Ache. Beautiful book.
The video that he posted just the other day was a really strong video. And I also need our people to understand that the algorithms of social media drive anger drives it.
Yes, fear, anger, and fear.
It drives it.
Yeah,
and so so people don't even realize.
Yeah,
we're seeing our feeds flooded, not realizing that that's it's like the anger, the fighting, the back and forth. And when I look at the Courtney B. Vance post and others, I'm like, few comments, because algorithm is not trying to drive that.
And also, we're distracted by the depravity, by the fighting, by the sexual innuendo. We're distracted by depravity because that's how this society keeps us devalued, demoralized, diminished, dehumanized. I see it on my social media.
Right.
Let me go somewhere with a celebrity, because America, we do love idols. We would just, I go somewhere with a celebrity, 200,000, 300,000 hits. I give a message, 12,000. So it's our responsibility.
Well, that's why I told literally I got a phone call from a brother who's a minister who, hey man, you should drop this conversation. I don't want you to get canceled. And these sisters really upset, and just leave it alone. And another sister, very prominent activist, hit me and said, we need a beat. And I said, sister, you just told me 4 Black women who have been murdered in the last 2 weeks. What am I giving a beat? Why would I wait? I said, if I could provide some information tonight, tomorrow, and the next day that somehow reaches somebody, that could prevent the next thing.
But are we willing?
And
are we willing to be?
Well, for me it was, first of all, I said I own the show, so I said I'm not asking permission, and I told them, no disrespect, I'm not doing what you're asking me to do. And what I need the people to understand, when I ran Tom Jones BlackAmericanWeb.com, it didn't have a praise and worship channel.
No.
I created it. I said, you can't have a black website and you ain't got no praise and worship. Iyanla, I can't even remember what I wrote. So I wrote a column. It's probably one of the pieces that's in my book, Listen to the Spirit Within. So I write this column and I get an email.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. So like I said, we're going to break this conversation up into 45-minute intervals. So we have hit the 45-minute mark, y'all. So we're going to have to go ahead and just cut it short right here for the part 2 for today. Tomorrow, or maybe the next day, we'll see how we're going to schedule it. We will be back for the part 3 and the part 4 on 2 different days. But that was part 2. And I thought that was an excellent conversation in its entirety. And even at the end, so many great gems. What did you think about that, Imani? You muted.
Sorry.
It's
I thought it was a
okay.
really excellent conversation. There was a lot in there and a lot that we can, a lot of recommendations or things we can take from it. And I have a few things to say about some of the stuff that was spoken about. But we're going to do the song break first, and then we can come back and I don't know. Yeah, we can come back and have a chat.
We got time to spare. We did good. We got time to spare. So we're going to do a quick song break, and then we'll come back and we'll give some of our thoughts, feelings, and opinions and final words on part 2. So we'll be right back, guys. I'll talk to y'all in just a bit.
What happened to us? How did survival become the only thing we teach? How did pain become inheritance? How did so many people learn how to hide before they ever learned how to heal? Oh, we're tired. We tired. I know women that smile so nobody asks questions. No men so numb they mistake race for protection. No children in the next room hearing every fight, learning what love is from fear every night. And people say that's just how relationships go. No, that's trauma repeating itself through generations. We never broke. Facts. We masked up pretending everything okay. Family pictures on the wall, out of spirit decay. Church on Sunday, silence on Monday. Whole house emotionally drowning by Tuesday. Somebody mama lost herself trying to save everybody. Somebody daddy stopped crying and turned cold in his body. Somebody child grew up praying after his screaming. Now they older still battling depression and demons. Took about it. Ain't nobody wanna say it out loud, but some people are exhausted from carrying everybody else. Strong friend, strong mother, strong provider, strong survivor, but secretly falling apart on the inside. Oh, no. Some wounds don't close easy. I know. Some nights feel endless, but God never meant for your spirit to live this heavy. We cry in silence, smile through violence, call it strength while our souls keep dying. No more hiding, no more pretending. This healing journey might save generations. Heal us, heal us, heal us, heal us. And maybe the bravest thing we ever do is finally tell the truth. Yeah. Men told don't cry, so they learn anger instead. Women taught loyalty even when emotionally dead. And somewhere along the line, everybody stopped feeling safe. Now communication sound like war, love sound like escape. Some people don't need another relationship. They need rest, need therapy, need forgiveness, need God, need space to breathe without surviving for 1 second. And social media made it worse. Everybody performing healing, posting quotes about peace while privately breaking ceilings. We got people screaming family first while destroying the family at home. People begging for intimacy while emotionally unavailable in their soul. Maybe some people were never toxic. Maybe they were just deeply wounded, with nobody safe enough to help them unpack it. Some of us were taught to endure things we should have escaped. Some of us confused suffering with loyalty. Some of us stayed because we didn't believe peace was possible for us. But healing is possible. We deserve homes that feel peaceful, love that feels equal, love that feels equal, rest for the weary soul. No more surviving alone. Rise, rise, rise. There's still light inside your chest. Even after everything, you'll survive. Hold on, don't give up, don't give up. And if nobody told you lately, you are still worthy of joy, of safety, of love, of peace. Maybe healing starts when we finally stop pretending we're okay.
All right, girls. So we are back, and we're going to go ahead and get into our final thoughts and conversation. You can go ahead and lead the charge, girl. So let me know, what do you think about overall, this part 2, the broken mirror, all of the conversation that we were able to listen to today, and take from, what are your overall thoughts and feelings and opinions on this?
Right. Well, I think there was a lot given in this 45 minutes. First of all, they talked about, there was looking at early prevention, looking at, changes in behaviors amongst people, intervention before the conflict escalates into violence. It talked about healthy conflict resolution and teaching people healthy conflict resolution and emotional regulation. And one really important thing is encouraging safe exit plans for abuse victims. There was also a big focus on mental health, normalizing things like therapy, counseling, if people want to go to counseling, giving emotional support to people, reducing the big, and this is one of my pet peeves, the big stigma about men seeking emotional help. And letting people know that there are resources out there. Sometimes it may be amongst people, and sometimes it may be amongst third parties and other people that provide those services, because our friends are not always the best people to give us advice, and you have to look at where someone's coming from when they're giving you their advice. But we've also got to have, there are resources out there, and there are support for survivors, because they're practical things they need. I remember this, and this is one thing I remember about childhood. I remember there used to be times when people used to come and stay with us. And at that time, when I was young, I didn't realize that they were going through DV situations in their own home. There were aunts, there were friends of families, and you'd wake up and there will be people staying at your house for a while, and they may stay for a while, and then they may go and live elsewhere, or they may go back home. But that's
Yeah.
happened with me, and other people have come and stayed with me. So, there's emergency things that may need. And then there's also the outside resources for housing, for finance, for legal assistance, for counseling, and things like, people don't think about things like, when you're in a two person relationship, that your childcare could become a problem if you're on your own. There's all these things that are a worry. And then the other thing that we need to teach our kids from a very young age is emotional literacy, and communication, and what's good communication, what's bad communication, and healthy conflict resolution. Let them see healthy conflict resolution. Let them see healthy relationships, like good hugs and bad hugs and stuff like that, because people
Right.
come from trauma, and we have to understand that there may have been things going on in their life that they're not used to seeing people hug and kiss and be affectionate, and and recognize that children that have been neglected may not have seen this, and so they don't know these, they don't know about these healthy relationships. And also encouraging people in the community to keep their eye out, and from groups like churches, schools and other organizations, there's help there. And also, we have to be accountable for our own behavior. We have to recognize that we bring something into these relationships. We bring our
Right.
own traumas, both men, women, or men, women, women. We bring stuff into the relationship that may cause this divide, these fights, this emotion that is expressed and may be expressed as violence. And we have to take accountability for that, and we have to have educate ourselves about our relationship, about ourselves, look within, and look at the long-term healing that we need to do. The other thing they talked about was online culture. Online culture is, like I said yesterday, is one of my pet peeves. And one of the most unhealthy things that social media has normalized is people becoming emotionally invested in other people's private lives, to the point where they start rewriting stories they never lived, assigning motives they cannot possibly know, and
Right.
speaking with certainty about situations they've only heard about through third parties or read court documents on. The
Right.
reality is, no one truly knows what happens behind closed doors, what someone has survived, what trauma they carry, what fears they have, what emotional, financial, family, or mental pressures they're dealing with by watching, having online arguments and reading court documents. It doesn't make us an expert on another human being's life. And some people have become so focused, they're really focused on analyzing, criticizing, exposing, mocking others, because it distracts them from looking at their own unresolved issues, their own unhappiness, their own
Right.
insecurities, their own relationships, their own emotional wounds. And it's much easier to sit in judgment of someone else than to confront your own life for many of these people. And social media rewards that kind of behavior because it gives you money, it gives you views, it makes your channel popular. And people need to stop the outrage, the gossip, the humiliation, and tearing other people down, because they need to look more at being compassionate, being a, being trying to help people heal, because no one can tell another person's story. We've not walked in their shoes. We've not lived their childhood. We've not lived their trauma. We've not lived their losses. We don't know anything about their private struggles or their battles. We might have an opinion, but it's like an arsehole. Everybody's got one. But opinions should never, ever replace the humanity, the compassion, or the empathy, or the basic decency we should have. And really, what we should do is mind our own business a lot of the time. If we don't want to be helpful, mind our own business. And that's what I've got to say about social media. And that's all I've got to say about what I've taken from today. But as you know, the social media aspect is my pet peeve because it encourages this nasty behavior and this nosiness in people's private lives, and it stops people from really expressing what they truly feel, and it can send people into a spiral, and people don't actually understand that. And that's really what I'd like to say about today. But I thought it was a great conversation, covered so many things, and I would go back and watch, if you haven't seen it, I would watch it again because there's really was a lot to take out of it. And
Right.
that's all I've got, really.
Excellent, excellent, excellent take from that. Yeah, I take away, basically a lot of the same things that you said you did as well. And in addition to that, some of the things that I was hearing, and even like you can see, like my mom was hearing as well, it actually made us be able to see and realize like these are some things that even we've lived through or experienced or survived through as well. And so, you can come out on the other side of these things. You can. And you have to make sure that when you do, if it's something that prevalent and that severe, that you are not holding on to those wounds, and those dysfunctional, toxic traits that derive from some of the experiences and traumas that you've been through in your life. That can very well happen to many of us. And a lot of times they lay dormant until they are triggered or ignited again. So you may not even always realize that you're walking around with it until something happens and it gets activated and you're like, oh, you start becoming this version of yourself that is like, well, I was thinking that I was past that. I was thinking that I healed from that. I was thinking that I was over that. But when certain things happen and come to, the forefront or, trigger you, you have to take a deep look at yourself and say, well, guess what? I guess I wasn't really fully over that. I guess I really didn't truly like heal from that. And there's more work to be done. And I think for a lot of us, sometimes we can attest to that. Maybe there's more work that needs to be done, but we don't know until we know. And that's why I also want to hone into what she said as far as us having individuals and people in our life that can be able to see, like something ain't right. Like this ain't normally you. This is not how you talk. This is not how you act. This is not who you are or who I know you to be. Like something's out of whack here. And I'm concerned about you. So I'm going to reach out. I'm going to see what's going on. And I'm going to let you know, like, this may not be, what I'm saying? This is not the best version of yourself that I know that you can be. And because I see who you are and how, good you can be and how great you can be, seeing you spiraling down and crashing out and falling out of place like this is harmful and it's hurtful, not just to yourself, but I hate to see you like that. And I just want to tap you on the shoulder or have a conversation with you and let you know, like, what's going on, because something is clearly going on to where you're not yourself. You're not acting how you normally act. Something must be happening. Checking in on your people, right? If you care, if you know what I'm saying? These are your friends. These are even if you just associates. But if you have a level enough of care, then it's just like you can spot things from. And we used to call it my grandma, because she used to do interior design. And so she used to always tell me, you can't really fully see what something looks like until you take like a back seat. Like you got to step back to see it. You can't fully be close up on it. You can't necessarily be inside. You sometimes got to be on the outside looking in. And when you're in that position, especially when it comes to other people, you can see through a different lens than what they're seeing through when they're in it, right? When they're in it, they're inside and they're up close and up front, they're seeing it through a different type of lens. And they're not seeing it and hearing it the way it's hitting and where it's coming, out. But someone watching from the inside, I'm sorry, from the outside looking in, they like, yeah, something ain't right about this. Something going on. This is crazy. And like I said, if those people care enough and they love you, or they just see like, whatever, the goodness in you, the light in you, they don't want to see that light go dark. They don't want to see that light get put out. And I think that is a great way for all of us to be, if we can just do that for another one, each one teach one, that type of situation. And like they also said within the conversation as well, you can do that as much as you want. Is that other person going to be receptive, right? That's also a thing. And that's a gamble that you take, and that's an outcome that could be a possibility. But at least within your heart and your soul, you did the right thing. You reached out, you checked on that person, you tried to see, if it was something you could say or a conversation you could have to figure out what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe we can talk through this. Maybe we can heal through this together or whatever. That's your intent. Now, if someone's willing to receive it or not, that is up to the other party. But I do believe those type of kind gestures and actions can make all of the difference, right? And we got our cheerleading friends, that be with us sometimes, our rah-rah friends, where it's like, we ride till dawn or, burn it to the ground. And they right there with you like, yeah, we burn it to the ground and we ride until dawn. Is that necessarily the most healthy response or action to have? No. Are we human and do we sometimes all fall short of that? Yes. But I'll just say it in a funny way, because sometimes we be having our ride or dies. Okay, they down the ride, they down the whatever it is. But when you have someone that really is saying like, yo, I know you really want to ride out tonight, and I know you want to kind of wild out, but I think you should stay home tonight. Like, I think you shouldn't do that. Like, I don't think that's the best choice or option for you or me right now. And if you go, guess what? You can go, but I'm not going with you. I think that is valuable. I think that's more valuable than the ride or die. But someone or some people may think opposite, because there's, times and places and emotions and energies that we all can be in at some times, right? But the ones that really be like, yo, I really think you should stay home tonight. And if you decide to go out there, I'm not coming with you. You're going by yourself. I think that is the type of conversations we have with our loved ones or people that we really care about. And as far as when it comes to, a lot of discussions that were being had around the abuse, just like you said, Imani, we never know what somebody's going through, and we never know what somebody's been through and how detrimental that thing is that they went through. And one of the things, like you said, not equally agreed to as well, is the place where we're at right now with social media, where somebody can take something like that, whether the information is given directly from the person or they go and dig it up and they use it as a weapon against someone to hurt them, to harm them, to embarrass them, as like this ultimate final finishing move, like on Mortal Kombat or something. And I just think that is really like, that's where we got to draw the line somewhere, y'all. We got to draw the line somewhere, because we keep moving forward and operating like this, we are never going to get anywhere. This is going to, as we can see, sometimes can be things that push people way over the edge because they already walking on eggshells and shaky ground. And you don't know how vulnerable someone is. You don't know how close to the edge that person may be. And when we doing things like this to each other, you don't know what type of effect that's going to have on them, or that just may be the very thing that keeps them in the mindset and the predicament that they're in, right? Because they've already experienced traumas. They've already realized don't nobody care. They already have settled with the fact that, they can't open up or be vulnerable about these things because of scrutiny. And you literally turn around and we're doing those very things that a lot of people walk in fear of experiencing again, or for the first time. So someone opening up to you. Go ahead, Imani.
No, I was just going to say you're absolutely 100% right. And a lot of my experience and in this work, in this field of work, has been with the victims of abuse, but mainly with the children of victims of abuse. And I've seen the damage, the long-term damage that it causes, the long-term effects and the trauma, and where it can lead them to the point where, there are people that I know who are children of survivors of domestic abuse, who are now doing, many, many years in prison because of it. And I've had those conversations about how they felt, um, and the neglect they felt, and the fact that what they had to do to appease their mothers, partners, etc. And it was mainly, people whose their mother was a victim. And it is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It's not something that I would think is something that I would be able to taunt someone with. And I told you that story about that young man who came to my house and said that he could see from our interaction, just from my interaction, that my son was safe and a priority. Now, how could he see that? Because he knows what it's like not to feel safe.
Right, right.
And
And
that's
it
all I
looks
really wanted to say. That's why I get emotional about people reading into this stuff and using it as to monetize and to make content of. It's
yeah.
sick to me, to be quite honest with you. But that's just me. But anyway, I'm going to stop now. Otherwise, I could go on forever. And we are nearly at the end, and we need to have Mum's word and your word. Sorry.
Mama get ready to come and do prayer. I can go on forever. So, child, don't worry about it. You're fine. But yes, I absolutely agree. Like, it's just, it's becoming real thoughtless and just feelingless, very numb. Like, people are very numb. Whatever for the coin, no feeling, no emotion, no concern, no consideration, no empathy, no sympathy, no none of that anymore, right? And to be quite honest, if you get yourself caught up in that too far, you get spinned up in it like a spider web, you'll find yourself being that way as well. And I found myself being in a predicament and holding a level of energy, and aggression that's not what I desire to do. That's not how I desire to present myself. That's not how I desire to speak, act, any of those things. Um, and so we have to be careful with that too. There is a true uh, thing where it comes to transference of energy. And if you're around too many people with negative energy, that negative energy will transfer onto you. So that is very much true. That's biblical. That's within the word. We know that, we probably felt it or experienced it. But anyway, I'm not going to ramble on. I'm going to go ahead and grab Mama Warrior. She's going to come and do a ending prayer for the live, and we will go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you so much, Imani, for joining us today and being my co-host. Child, the dogs is fighting. There you
Thank
go.
you for inviting me. It's a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. It's been a great topic as well.
Yeah,
It's a
I
pleasure.
love this topic, and I think that of all times, I think this is a great time for us. Child, I cannot with this pound puppy. This is a great time for us. Excuse me. Can somebody separate? Thank you. This is a great time to have this conversation because as much as we reflect in the mirror some of the things that we may be exuding and experiencing ourselves, when we look out into the grand scheme of things and how we all are kind of moving and operating, I just think that maybe it could be helpful and useful to all of us as a whole. And anything that I bring to the surface in the level of these type of teaching things and education and stuff like that, be very clear that I apply these things to myself first, and then I just like to have conversations and share it with others. So it's never me pointing the finger or putting it out to make a point about something. We see what we see, we experience what we experience, but we must focus on self first. That's how we can be the best version of ourselves, to be able to give out to others a great energy, a great spirit, and you know what I'm saying, a good personality trait or whatnot when we are with others. And so I had to do a lot more self work, y'all. I was falling short, very, very short. And I was making a lot of mistakes. I was letting anger get the best of me. I was letting my ego and my pride boost me up. You know what I'm saying? I've done all of those things. I've done them in my past, and I've been doing them as of recently when I've been here on YouTube. And when I listen to myself back, and I had good people, like I said, my mom, and then even Imani and others tap me on the shoulder, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you talking like that? Why are you speaking why are you crashing out like that? That's what I'm saying. When you find somebody good you got in your corner that can be able to do that for you. And I bet these two individuals can attest. It wasn't easy to get the message through because I'm very hard-headed and I'm very stubborn. But what I knew was, yeah, no, this ain't it. It's not working. This is not who I want to be. This is not how I want to show up in the world. I have to turn around. And Carlos as well. We have good conversations as well. And he's told me these things as well. So you got to listen. You got to listen. You got to be open, you know. And I know some people are just not there yet. And prayerfully, you will get to that point where you can be open to just sit still, be quiet, and listen. Because there are a lot of people that love you and care about you. And they can see some things that you don't see. And they just want the best for you. So, you know, what do you think, Imani? Mama's coming for prayer in just a minute.
No, I think you're right. And, you know, some of these behaviors we do exhibit in our relationships because they are triggering for us on other traumas. You know, it's not only there are different types of relationship where our triggers come out. So, no, yeah, and you are hard-headed. No, I'm only joking. You're
No,
good, but you're good at self-reflection. So is Mama gonna do her prayer before we go on forever? Because you know me and you,
yeah,
we can talk for yeah.
we'll talk forever. We'll talk forever. Mama's on the way. Y'all, let me just play a little quick, short little piece. And then she's coming. She's got everything set up. I'm going to swap positions with her, and she's going to come do the prayer. Because, you know, I got to go wrangle down JJ. Anyway, y'all, I will come. Goodbye when she is done. Let's swap for a minute. She's already here, so she's going to get her prayer set up in just a moment, okay? All right, we'll be right back.
Some wounds don't bleed outside. Some battles happen in silence. Some people master survival, but never learn healing. Let it breathe. Everybody got secrets hidden behind smiles. Family portraits covering trauma for miles. Mama stayed strong, but her spirit looked tired. Daddy full of rage, whole house felt wired. Children in the hallway, hear the yelling at night. Growing up too fast, thinking chaos is life. And pain moved quiet through the bloodline deep. Somebody crying every night, they can't sleep. Talk about it. People say pray, but they don't teach healing. Say you keep pushing while your soul's still bleeding. Everybody wearing masks just to function. Whole generation scared of real discussion. How you love somebody when you broken inside? How you carry peace when your inner child died? How we normalize damage and call it tradition, then wonder why the family losing its vision. Facts. I know the storm feels endless. I know the nights get cold, but pain ain't your identity and broken ain't your soul. if your voice shake when you speak, the wounded still deserve peace. Some people punch walls, some people punch souls, some people lose control cause nobody made them whole. And hurt turned to anger, anger turned cold, and silence starts spreading like a sickness in the home. Men told man up, never taught emotion. Women carrying worlds while they drowning in oceans. Everybody posting strength for the internet, meanwhile real life falling into deep neglect. And social media turn pain into entertainment. Everybody got opinions but nobody contained. They need therapy, prayer, accountability too, not fake love, perform for a digital view. Somebody listening right now feeling trapped, trying to hold together while they so collapse. If nobody told you, let you hear me clear tonight. You deserve a home that feels safe at night. Healing ain't weakness, leaving pain ain't weakness, crying ain't weakness. Sometimes surviving is the bravest thing a soul can do. Than the author, no weapon formed against peace gon' prosper. And even with stars running deep, grace still grows flowers, the concrete. The healing starts now. The healing starts now.
Well, hello everybody. It's Mama Warrior. I'm coming in on the end with you today. I'm going to come in with a prayer, and I have a few little last words to say as well. I really agree and see the conversation between Imani and Golden about just a short thing about social media, how we do get caught up in the chaos and the strife and the craziness. I have gotten caught up in the strife and the chaos and the craziness. And it comes a time where you do come back to yourself and you come back to God and you try to change yourself back to the way you always have been. And me and Golden both, as well as Imani, we are in the process of changing and looking at the social media and about to represent ourselves as we truly were. We are three beautiful, wonderful Black women. We are very close. Yes, we are. And we have seen ourselves through a lot of different things, both good and both bad. And we've come alongside one another and we've supported one another, and we do support one another. And we are on a journey to come away from all this. And we are moving forward in life as God would have us move forward. We have admitted our mistakes. We have asked forgiveness from God, which is important. And we have asked forgiveness from others, whether they accept it or not. But we're moving on, and we're moving into a more positive situation as far as that social media is concerned. Secondly, this DB live that we have had has been very informing. I hope and pray that it is helpful. I hope and pray that those out there listening that may be in this situation or have a family member or someone in this situation is listening and will apply the information that we've tried to provide as far as exiting DB. I'm praying for those, and I got a prayer for those that have been victims and those that are survivors. And so that's what I want to move forward with. Let me go ahead and get started. Please join me if you wish. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with that. Okay? All right, my loves, hold on. Make sure I'm up here on stage because I'll be failing that sometime, y'all. I'll be praying and talking and don't even be up there. But anyway, here we go. I got a prayer for us tonight. Hold on. All right, let's get going here. Okay. Want to make sure that I have the perfect prayer that will cover everyone. Let's see here now. All right. Let's see. Bear with me, everyone. Coming now. Okay, give me 1 sec, people. Help you get out here.
Okay.
Here.
Yes.
Oh, this technology sometime, y'all. Hold on. Golden. Golden, come here, help me out. Wait a minute. All right, everyone, I'm ready now. Okay, so I have a prayer, a fervent prayer for deliverance and restoration. If you want to join me, please join me. Here we go. Dear God, divine presence, source of all comfort and fierce protector of the vulnerable, we come before you with heavy hearts but unwavering faith, lifting up those currently walking through the valley of domestic violence, or DV, and those who have emerged as survivors. For the one currently in the shadow, dear God, we pray for the soul currently trapped in a cycle of fear and silence. Surround them with an invisible head of protection. In moments of tension and danger, grant them a supernatural calm and the clarity to see a path to safety. We ask that you break the chains of isolation. Send a trusted friend, a neighbor, a stranger, to speak the truth that awakes their courage. Let them know deep in their marrow that violence used against them is not their fault, not their burden to carry, and not their destiny. For strength to lead, dear God, we pray for the moment of crossing, the instant where fear is eclipsed by the necessity of freedom. Grant them the logistical miracles they need, Lord God. A safe place to go, Jesus. The resources to sustain themselves and the ironclad resolve to not look back. Shatter the lies of the abuser that whisper you are nothing or you cannot survive without me. Replace those lies, Lord, with the thunder's truth that they are powerful, capable, and infinitely worthy of a life lived in peace. And for the long road of healing, Lord God, for the survivors who have escaped the physical reach of abuse, but still carry the echoes in their minds, we pray for a total restoration of the self,
We ask for the mending of the broken places. Where there is trauma, bring stillness. Where there is hypervigilance, bring grace of long, deep breath. Restore their identity, God. May they rediscover the hobbies, the laughter, and the dreams that were suppressed for so long. Dear God, restore their trust. Surround them with people who embody kindness and consistency, helping them learn that it is safe to be seen again. Dear God, restore their peace. May their homes and their physical spaces and their internal spirits become true sanctuaries where no hand is raised in anger and no word is used as a weapon. For justice and protection, dear God, we pray that those who use power to harm or held accountable that the systems intend to protect actually do their duty. We ask for a world where the cry for help is met with immediate action and where the survivor is never made to feel like a victim a second time by the hands of bureaucracy. And a final blessing, dear God, may the survivor realize that they are not just getting by, but that they are a testament to the endurance of the human spirit. May they grow like a tree planted by the water, roots deep, branches reaching high, unshakable and free. Let their life from this moment be forward, be defined not by what was done to them, but by the magnificent life they choose to build for themselves. And dear Lord, in hope and in solidarity and in the name of love that liberates, we want to thank you, Jesus, way ahead because we know you've already answered. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, Lord God, we say amen and we amen and amen again, and we agree. And once again, I just want to remind you of this and read this out. Anyone that's listening that needs to write this information down at this particular time, you are not alone. If you are currently in a situation that feels unsafe, please prioritize your safety. You can reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at any time. And that phone number is 1-800-799-7233. Once again, national, 800-799-7233. And if you need to text it, you will put the word start and then text to 88788. Text the word start and then put 88788. And if you need to get online, just go to the hotline.org. Hotline, thehotline.org. And I hope and pray, and we already know God is not one of them, not following his promises. And I know this day, this moment, this second, that God is already on it. And you just hold on, hold your head up, because God is near you. God is ready to help you. In the name of Jesus, we all pray to God forever and ever. Amen. And that is the prayer. That is the prayer that I have prayed for us, that we all have prayed together for you, and even for ourselves and our own families and friends and associates and things that we may have. We may not even know what's going on right now. So we pray that for our own families and friends and what have you. So, like I said, this has been a wonderful live. We need to continue to keep our attention. We need our community and our village back. We have to get that strongly going again so that we can stop these things and stop the Stevie and many other horrible things that are going on. And that is the prayer that I wish to have prayed with you. And I know you prayed with me. And I thank you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this back over to Golden now. And as I say God bless you. I love you all in Jesus' name. And we all have to stick together. It's basically the message. We all must stick together and hold on to each other, protect one another, support one another. And I'm going to turn you back over to Golden. and she will take over from here.
We're just gonna end with. So I'm just gonna go ahead and play a song on the way out, y'all. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Imani, for coming and co-hosting with me. And we got 2 more episodes to go and many, many more great things to come. And so y'all stay tuned for that. Everybody who decided to join, thank you so much. Even if you were listening in the bushes, we appreciate that as well. We're gonna end with a little bop here, and we're gonna see y'all on the next one. It might be a little bit later this evening, y'all, because we do have a lot of political things we got to catch up with. So y'all stay tuned. You'll see us. We'll be popping out. But everybody have a good rest of the day, and we will talk to you very soon. This is Golden and Imani signing out. Bye.
Bye.
A roof above, a shelter from the storm, a gentle hand to keep a spirit warm, a plate of food, a mind that's free to learn, a simple peace, a righteous way to earn. These are the needs, the bedrock and the base, the sacred ground of the whole human race. But the screen is screaming, selling something cheap, while the real world babies cry themselves to sleep. They celebrate the greed and plant a poison, a suffocating weed. We gotta reach our children, pull them from the glow, and show them a beauty that the media don't know. Yo, check the vision. The mission of the television, spitting division, a mental prison. Got the youth chasing likes, addicted to the feed, ignoring the hunger, the fundamental need. They building paper idols on a digital stage, putting our future daughters in a virtual cage. Now we gotta break the cycle, gotta cut the cord. The real word is powerful, mighty even the sword. So we teach them about their history, teach them about their grace, teach them about the power, every single face. We are human, blood and bone and soul, with the right to be late, the right to be whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator is where we all belong. We're human, worth more than they can price, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded ties. We'll build a world where every voice is heard and valued. And truth is not a whisper, but a mighty thundering word.
A word of justice, a word of peace, a promise that the fight will never cease.
This ain't just a track, it's a call to action for every mother, father, every single fraction of the community, holding it down on the ground. Time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, tell them that they matter, tell them their spirit's something to know like a shadow. Tell them knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest. We're gonna grow in this field. Yeah.